number 20. Good morning. It's already 9:15. Some unexpected storms came through here, so I ended up having to dodge underneath a picnic shelter for an hour or so, waiting for the rain to stop. Fortunately, I had already broken camp, so the gear is all dry for the most part. Heading up to Muskegon, Michigan, which is 143 miles, a little over 2.5 hours, so not a terrible ride today. You see the USS Silversides, which is a Gato class World War II submarine. And then I'll figure out somewhere to camp in Michigan today. It's 9:11 right now, but I'm actually going to lose an hour. I cross into the Michigan border here shortly, so the day's kind of slipping away already with the rain interfering. The camp was nice last night, pretty quiet. Facilities were okay. There's supposed to be another storm coming through here in about 30 minutes, so if I make enough easterly, I should be able to avoid it. You never guess it looking at the sky right now, because the sun's finally starting to show. So it's been kind of a tough last day or so of travel with the rain. They actually had flood warnings around Chicago when I was traveling through, although there wasn't any standing water on the road, so it didn't impede my travel. The rear tire is low right now because of the cold temperatures. As it heats up, the alarm will shut off when it gets above where it's supposed to be. It's a little hard to set the tires on these days because they start off really cool and then they warm up. So I try to kind of put the tire pressure in the middle, so it tends to be low in the morning and then goes above the recommended pressure when I'm on the highway, which is kind of normal. But I don't want to set it at the recommended pressure when it's at a temperature that's not going to last for very long. Yeah, look at that blue sky. I lost my headlamp on the low beams sometime yesterday, and I really need to replace it. I do have my auxiliary lights that are giving me visibility on oncoming traffic, but this will be the fourth bulb I'll put in, so I'm switching brands. It's using a Sylvania that only has like a 150-hour rating to it. I'm gonna I was looking around last night online, and there's some bulbs that have 2 or 3 times that in terms of life rating. There's a deer. That's what I need to see this thing time early in the morning. Young deer. So I'm going to put a bulb in that has a longer life in it because it's ridiculous. And it's not an easy bulb to change either. I have to take the dash off and some of the side panels, and it takes me half an hour just to get into where the bulb is. And it's a little bit of a pain in the neck, especially doing it in the field on a day where it's on and off raining. So I'm going to try to stop and buy a bulb, and then maybe later today, if the weather improves, I'll do a field repair. Otherwise, I'll just wait till I get to my brother's house in Ann Arbor in a couple days, since with those auxiliary lights I do have forward lighting for safety. After starting yesterday up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, I passed through Wisconsin, Illinois, and Indiana. And now, one day later, I am back into Michigan. I stopped to change the filter on my GoPro. I think I was using too dense of a filter. And then a motorcyclist stopped by to make sure I was okay, which I thought was just great. That somebody stops to make sure that I'm not having mechanical problems or whatever. Much appreciated. So I'm back in the Eastern time zone. Back to my home time zone, although I'm all the way at the other end of it. I haven't stayed in a hotel this whole trip. I did stay at that hostel that one night, which is pretty miserable, but everything else has been camping. So the weather has been good enough for me to continue camping without chickening out and staying in a motel overnight. Stay out of the rain. It is 2 o'clock and I am approaching finally Silversides, USS Silversides, here on the shores of Lake Michigan in the state of Michigan. Of course, the western side of the state. This is the entrance to the harbor at Muskegon. Got quite a facility here, including the submarine, and it looks like they have some other vessels to look at too. Good. Nice. USS Drum 228.
Aside from her battle flag, she destroyed 16 mines and rescued 2 naval airmen. And this is the list of the ships damaged and sunk, and then all of her awards. Torpedo tubes. They stored 6 in the tubes and then had an additional 10. So they had 16 up forward. Storage lockers for the men that lived up here. Shower. And they had the officer's pantry. Officer's wardroom. Including the awards that they won on each of the patrols, 4 patrols. On that side, and over here, it's all the way up through number 9. Officer's quarters. That's drop down sink. Captain's quarters with the depth indicator and compass indicator in his berth area. Yeoman's office.
Is it just those two? I guess I can march in. I can march in here. Oh, sorry. That's basically like 2 buttons. I feed it around.
This is the main galley. And this is the enlisted men's mess. Fit 3 on a bench. 3 shifts. the enlisted men's bunks. Ford engine room, Fairbanks Morse engines. This is the aft engine room, 2 more diesel engines. Actually run a couple of these engines over the course of a year, so they're still operating. These are air filters. When they ran on the surface with the engines, they used the typical thrust indicators, but when they were undersea, they used tachometers when they were running off of the motors. This is in the maneuvering room. This is the aft torpedo room with 4 torpedo tubes. And there's this launch, signal launch right there with the green fitting on it. Cutter next. This is the McLane, commissioned 1927. High-speed ferry coming in from Lake Michigan. It's the bridge. Ship had 26 enlisted men, 4 officers, so 30 crew in total. This is the crew's head and shower. This is the enlisted berthing up in the forward part of the vessel. She's creaking while she's at dock. A little breezy out there. This is probably the captain's cabin. Here that are first officers. Looking down in the engine room. It's closed off to visitors. The galley. The original cutter had a 6-burner coal-fired stove. Of course, it was built in the 1920s. Crew's mess. Here's the yeoman's office, just like we saw aboard the submarine. And this is the officer's wardroom. Looking aft. I can see the park where I want to stay tonight, right across on the other side of the submarine. The problem is that there's water in between me and there, and I have to go all the way around the harbor. It's going to take about half an hour to get over there. There's the LST 393 I visited on my last trip through this area. I didn't know the submarine was here. I would have killed 2 birds with 1 stone, but it is what it is. Picked up groceries. It's 5:11 p.m. Still 14 minutes from the park. I can't tell where this day is going in terms of the weather. It was looking like it was going to rain about 15 minutes ago. Huge dark clouds rolling through. Now there's not a cloud in the sky. I just entered Muskegon State Park. It's Said the campground is this way. GPS is Lake Michigan Campground. Let's see if they're still open. Doesn't really look like it. It says open. Come in. Here I am at the Muskegon Campground, site number 10. It's $49 a night, which is getting up there on price. Good morning. It's day 21. I just left my campground at Muskegon State Park. I'm heading south in the park on what's called a scenic drive, which I think is just a couple miles. But I want to go down to that channel where I saw the Silversides yesterday. The park that I ended up camping at, well, it's contiguous with what I was looking across at the channel. The actual campground was further north. So I want to go south in the park down to the channel, see if I can take a quick peek across. I've got about 3 hours to get over to Bay City, where I hope to see the USS Edson, which is located there. Another museum ship. But for right now, I am here in Muskegon State Park, and I'm going to take that scenic ride. It's a pretty park. It runs north to south in distance, and then it's fairly narrow east to west. So I'm headed south right now. Not quite sure how close I can park to where that channel is. Hopefully it's not a terribly long hike, but we'll find out. Campground last night was nice. It was quiet until 10 o'clock when somebody came in with a trailer and a site right next to mine, which is fine, but for the fact that he didn't know how to drive. So he literally spent 45 minutes trying to get his trailer backed up. There is Lake Michigan, and there's the channel entrance that I'm headed towards. Lake Michigan is nice and calm today. I don't see any storms out there either. Yeah, here, channel campground. I thought that's where I was going to end up, but I didn't have a map or anything. I just followed my GPS and it took me into the northern campground. The landscape here really changed. Wow, went from trees to grasslands and sand dunes. Very nice park. Apparently they have several miles of beaches. There's one of them. Yeah, we get a view over. Good deal. Muskegon Harbor Navigation Project, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. There's the bay that's protected. And there is Lake Michigan, still coming up the channel, shooting into the sun, unfortunately. See if we get a better angle, but I'm not sure I'll be able to. It's a delightful little walk along the channel here. My first stop today is an automotive store to see if I can find a headlamp for my low beam. On Highway 46 headed east. Basically farm country up here. Middle of Michigan, Lower Peninsula. Turned into an absolutely gorgeous day again. Bay City, Michigan. And over here is Lake Huron. So this is the bay off of Lake Huron. Here she is, the USS Edson, 946. She has been here 11 years on display. Over the summer they were getting 1,000 guests a week. It's dropped off significantly since Labor Day. She has 3 5-inch guns, 54 caliber. This is the fanfare torpedo decoys. It's a gun mount. Ship's laundry. Here's the engine room with the turbines. It's a look inside the main reduction gear, which reduces the high-speed turbine spin down to the low-speed high torque. This is used to take samples of oil. Make sure there's no contaminants in any of the tanks. This is fire room number 2, which contains 2 Babcock and Wilcox 1200 psi boilers. The main control room. So 60-man berth back in this compartment. Machine shop. 6 U.S. presidents that served in the Navy, different capacities: Johnson, Kennedy, Nixon, Ford, Carter, and George H.W. Bush. This is a commissioning pennant. She was serving off the coast of North Vietnam. She took a hit on the forward mast. 10 officers and crew were wounded, 3 seriously. So she was commissioned January 4th, 1958, decommissioned December 15th, 1988. 30 years, 11 months, 12 days of military service. This is the officers' wardroom. Still funded by the officers for the food. This flag is purportedly flown by the USS Selfridge that was at Pearl Harbor, December 7, 1941. 48 stars before Hawaii and Alaska became states in 1959. This is an officer's stateroom. Moved up a deck. This is the captain's sea cabin near the bridge. CIC, Combat Information Center. The chart and map room. Looking forward on the 5-inch gun mount. Repeaters, port and starboard, for the engines out here on the wing. .50 caliber Browning M2 machine gun mount, and 3 launch tubes for torpedoes. We're looking aft. The general and chemical alarm switches, but in the center there, it looks like an old-fashioned speaker tube that runs down to the helm station, one deck below me. Looking aft, and over there is the visitor center, and my bike is barely visible where those 2 guys are walking here. That's my journey aboard USS Edson. 30 years of service. Ship's in great shape up here at Bay City, Michigan. It's the first time I think I've seen a post-World War II destroyer up close and personal. Definitely worth the visit. Now I'm going to head over to a nearby laundromat, do some laundry. bike.
Turns out that the state campground that I thought I was going to stay at tonight is closed for refurbishment. So last minute change of plans. I just finished my laundry and I'm going to a county park, but the county park's about 40 minutes away after I stop at the grocery store. Crossing over a drawbridge. I'm headed east. Here we go. Sebewaing. See if anybody's here. I don't think anybody's here, but let's see what they have to say. Basically says, if you have a campsite that's reserved, go and set up. So that's what I'm going to do. Nice. I'm in 56. This is a 10 only site. There's all the powered sites. And then one back here, there's the restroom up there. Nice and quiet, nice grass. It's gonna be perfect. 22 bucks a night. I was spending almost $50 a night at the state campground. I grab some dinner first before I set up camp, I think. Tomorrow I'm heading down to Ann Arbor, where a brother of mine lives. I'm gonna spend a couple of days there before I continue my journey east. Probably overbought on dinner, but got a Cobb salad, California roll, pita, banana, chocolate cupcake. Over here's milk. All here by myself. There's my bike and the tent site.